Hi folks, with Tacitus today, your pushback channel. Thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about juries and how the racial composition of the jury will reflect the extent to which the jury will rely on the facts. Now, there's various studies have been done, and I grabbed quite a few of those and put them together to try and sort of create a picture of how juries in non-homogeneous societies will decide and will make decisions regardless of evidence on tribalism, not on evidence. So even if the evidence is overwhelming, the black jury will vote to acquit the black black criminal or the accused, the alleged criminal. So it's only just in the studies, the only people that will make a decision based on the facts are straight white males. They're the only ones that will reliably make decisions, guilt or innocence, will make decisions based on the facts and the evidence. Now, this is astonishing. Maybe it's not astonishing, but this is concerning, I guess, more than astonishing, that in the days of a homogenous Western society, that juries, in the main, I mean, you can get maybe some class differences, things decide based on the facts. And so even if the accused is, being snotty and lippy and rude and so on in the court, will decide based on the facts. Whereas the minority groups are very unlikely to convict based on the facts. Now, there's some sort of to and fro in as much as what happens when two black people are sort of in litigation. A black person has murdered for example, one black person has murdered another black person. Well, the tribalism still comes in because, wider families and relationships. This guy comes from that town down the road, and we come from this town. We own this town. The mere fact that they've come into our town makes them guilty of whatever. So we'll just we'll vote in the jury room. We'll vote to convict them, even though it's pretty clear they didn't do it, or someone else did it, and they were maybe nearby at the time. Whatever. But so tribalism still applies based on the street or the district or the block or something you came from. And the black people are very territorial in that sense. Now, you come from 2 blocks down the way there. You were sort of this is our territory, this is our patch. So, mere fact you're in here means you're guilty, motherfucker, and you're going down. So it still occurs that the facts are of moderate, if not minimal, relevance, if not non-existent relevance, in cases where that territorial thing applies. But if the black person is accused of committing a crime against a white person, then the black juries will, or even juries that aren't 100% black, that will vote to acquit the white guy, the black guy. Even though the evidence, again, may be damning. Now, judges do have the option of overturning the jury's verdict if the evidence is damning in one direction, and the judge can say, no, I'm not taking that, and they can order a retrial or mistrial or whatever. Or if the person is accused of a lesser crime or whatever, then the judge can still do a maximum penalty, or so there's still some latitude within the system to sort of even out the wrong decision. But the point is here that each group, and the greater the supposed protected status and minority group, the greater they will vote in jury rooms in absence of the facts. The facts really don't matter. So if the black guy killed the white guy, then, well, the white guy is just an evil Nazi oppressor. He's holding us back. We'd all have waterfront properties and be president of the bank if it wasn't for those white guys. So this is our chance. This is our opportunity to strike a blow against Whitey, and so on and so forth. And they're encouraged to think that through the education system, through the media, and through an endless array of NGOs, charities, and activist groups. Now, I guess something that did surprise me here, but as you go down the totem pole of protected status, minority status, or whatever you want to call it, straight white males being the ones that have no protected status at all, an issue that needs to be addressed, because anti-straight white male hatred is just a runaway out of control at the moment. Really needs to be dealt with. Either we're all protected or none of us are. But the sort of the next level down is, say, straight white males is straight white women. But even there, the tendency to vote sort of tribally along gender lines is still evident there. They're again less likely to rely on the facts and the evidence than the straight white male is. Then the homosexual white male again comes up. So you could pretty much set the so-called social power hierarchy, and it almost mirrors exactly the degree to which a jury will decide based on the facts. Now, a jury's job is to decide based on the facts. That's what they're there for, to decide based on the facts that the innocents will not go to prison. Now, the only group that think it's important that the innocent must not go to prison is the straight white males. But all other groups are, hey, who cares? It's all a matter of sort of social justice hysteria, a miasma of feelings, emotions, and uncontrolled impulses, and my brother died in the hood. So what do you do about this? Now, do you just do away with jury trials? Do you say that only white people can sit on juries? Do you give all the jurors, a week-long class in jurisprudence, civics? What do you do? Why have a jury if they're not going to decide based on the facts, and it's proven to be so over a period of 10 to 15 years, 20 years in some cases, and these black people just won't decide based on the facts. Should you put black people in juries where it's only black people suing, in conflict with each other? Should you only have Hispanic juries in where it's two Hispanics in legal contest with one another? Should you just have racial juries for that racial group specifically? And some sort of suggest, well, then it doesn't matter. Blacks killing each other doesn't matter. The only bad death, black death, is if a white person does it. But if a black person kills 100 other black people, who gives a shit? It's only important when a white person does it, because social power and social justice and So should juries be racially based? Now, white jurors can sit on any jury because they'll decide based on the facts, or straight white males will anyway. So they're pretty safe to be put anywhere. But all these other groups, it just can't be done to get a reliable jury verdict. Not that some of the people don't sort of, maybe they, I'm trying hard, I want to do the right thing and this sort of stuff, but then they look at the guy and he's a straight white male, what an oppressor. I remember that straight white male, the kids at school used to beat me up for being gay, and he just reminds me of one of them. You know what? I'm going to send that motherfucker to prison. That'll teach, and so on. So is this something that even when the person is like trans or a minority or this or that, the straight white male will still, this is in the majority, the straight white male will still decide based on the facts, whereas any sort of other form of social conflict, social power, social justice will substantially alter the behaviour of a jury that is not made up of straight white males. But if we're going to keep the jury system, which I think we should, the idea that in Britain, and we're seeing it elsewhere, Australia too, well, if juries are unreliable, we'll just do away with them. A judge can make the decision. but the judiciary is shot through with activists now. How is that any better than a jury? So we need to all sit down and have a hard think about, well, if we want jury systems to remain, we have a hard think about how we can make it work and deliver the sort of impeccable high standard jurisprudence and determination of guilt and innocence that we all want. And nobody wants the innocent to go to prison. Even the people that are voting to send an innocent person to prison or to acquit a guilty person, none of them really want that. If they were in the firing line, I want the facts. But when it's an ideological social justice issue, as they would see it, then screw the facts, fuck the facts. I'm going to create a social justice outcome here, even though I know the guy is innocent, they're going to send him to prison, or if I know the guy is guilty, I'm going to let him off. And if we see, say O.J. Simpson, getting declared not guilty, this was a blow against Whitey and the Whitey system. It wasn't about justice or guilt, innocence, evidence, facts. It was I want to stick it up Whitey, and this is how I can do it. White people, on the other hand, they may not have a high opinion of black people, they have a very low opinion of them, but they still decide on the facts. And so how do we get other people to decide on the facts as well? And how can that be inculcated in other racial groups? Is it even possible? You've been a Tassus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.